It is time for the Saturday live stream. I am a Swede Speaks, and we are live on YouTube. There has been a lot going on recently, and I will address some of it in this live stream. I am very happy about your presence. I appreciate that you're taking the time to come here and participate, so thank you to everyone in the chat, and God bless you all. You are watching my Saturday live stream. I do this live stream every Saturday at this time, and most weeks I also do a midweek live stream, usually on Thursdays, sometimes on Tuesdays. The midweek live stream may or may not happen. The Saturday live stream is pretty much set in stone. As I said, a lot has been going on recently, but before I address that, let me just say a few words about what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create critical mass, because this is what we all need to understand. To change a society, you don't need a majority, you need critical mass. Critical mass is somewhere around 10 stubborn% of the population, and this goes both ways. Whether the change you want to achieve is positive or negative, the logic is the same. You need the 10 stubborn% who will stand up for their conviction, even when it costs them something, even when it is an uphill battle. This is what we need to understand. To change society, you need the people who are willing to be at the front lines for that change, no matter which kind of change we are talking about. So, what kind of critical mass am I looking for? I am looking for critical mass in favor of Judeo Christian Western civilization. Western civilization is, with all its faults and flaws, the best civilization ever created by mankind. The reason for this is that Western civilization was shaped from the heritage from Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome, and refined through the Anglo-American tradition of liberty. Jewish in its heritage, Christian in its nature, with Greek philosophy, Roman law, and then the originally English concept of liberty, which was brought over the Atlantic. The ideas of liberty from the Magna Carta barons and from the American Revolution. This is what made Western civilization. And if we want Western civilization to survive and to continue being the best civilization ever, we need to understand its roots and we need to nourish these roots. Cut off the roots and the tree, in this case Western civilization, will die. And as Leonard Cohen supposedly said, you are not going to like what comes after America. In the spirit of that statement, I would also like to say, you are not going to like what comes after the West. And this brings us to what I am against, because we also need to know what we are fighting against. I want critical mass in favor of Judeo-Christian Western civilization, and I want critical mass against political correctness and Islam. I see it this way. By weakening Western civilization, by cutting off the roots of the tree, through Marxism, utopianism, and political correctness, the West also opened its doors to Islam. We see it all over the West. On one hand, insane SJW ideas about, for instance, gender, the spread of identity politics, and on the other hand, Western countries being Islamized. The growth of no-go areas in places like France, the United Kingdom, Sweden. Sweden! Who would ever have thought that? Well, that's what happened. And the same politically correct left, who were always eager to criticize Christianity, won't say a bad word about Islam, and they will smear anyone who does speak up about Islam. For standing up against Islam, you will be called an Islamophobe and a racist. Stand against SQW ideas, political correctness, and you are called other names, for instance, a misogynist. If you state that men and women are different, that it is not all a social construct. So, what I'm trying to create is critical mass in favor of Judeo-Christian Western civilization and against political correctness in Islam. As you may have noticed, I have not mentioned ethnicity, skin color, or race. There's a very simple reason for that, because I don't have an issue with that. It's not about ethnicity, skin color, or race. It's about harmful ideologies, the odd twins of political correctness and Islam. So, if you want to help me with this, feel free to support my work. You can help out by sending a super chat. Just click the little dollar sign under your name and send whichever amount you like. I will read out all super chats as long as you keep them clean. No racism, no anti-Semitism, no incitement, no cursing, please. And for the record, being anti-Islam is not racism. You can also support my work through Patreon, through PayPal, and by buying some of my merchandise. There are links for all of that in the box below the live stream. I have a financial goal too. My short-term financial goal is to reach $90 per month through Patreon. Right now, my Patreon support is $42 per month. So please consider signing up as a Patreon supporter. Also, keep me in your prayers. My long-term financial goal is to make $3,000 per month from this channel and related activities. It sounds like a lot, I know, but why not? And also, like and share this live stream, subscribe, send it to friends and families, please. And follow me on Twitter and Gab, there are links for that below too. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I need your help to do it. Remember, without you, I am unable to do this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for any and all support. And now we have, let's have a look. We have 31 people in the chat, which is wonderful. So that's great. Welcome. God bless all of you. And we really have to talk about Tommy Robinson and what happened to him yesterday. Yesterday, Tommy Robinson was live streaming in Leeds, outside the court. Inside the court, 2 Muslim men were on trial for rape, and they were in court to get their verdicts. Tommy Robinson asked them some tough questions. For doing this, Tommy Robinson was arrested, and within a few hours, he had been sentenced to 13 months in prison. I don't even understand how that's possible. How can you sentence someone in just a few hours? And for doing what? Tommy Robinson was doing what every journalist should do, report on what's going on. And now he's a prisoner at Hull Prison. You realize that British prisons are full of Muslims, right? This is as close to a death sentence as you will get in the UK. The UK fought bravely to save Europe from Nazi Germany, from the totalitarian ideology of National Socialism. But for what? To turn into a totalitarian state itself? And it gets worse. There is a reporting ban on this in the UK. Not that British mainstream media would report anyway, more than to share at Tommy Robinson being sentenced. The UK entered a really dangerous path, and they are still on that path. We must pray for Tommy Robinson, for his safety, and then we must spread the news about what's going on. The UK cannot be allowed to get away with this. So let's all spread the word about this. I still believe that the UK is at the tipping point. I believe that some of the Anglo-American tradition of liberty still lives in the hearts and minds of the British people, and I still think that Britain can turn around. The numbers of people showing up at the Day for Freedom makes me think so. I want Days for Freedom, not only in London. I want Days for Freedom all over the UK and all over the West. Also, I saw that apparently thousands of people gathered outside Downing Street in London to protest against the arrest of Tommy Robinson. For anyone who doesn't know, Downing Street is the official residence of the British Prime Minister. And by the way, Prime Minister Theresa May ought to be ashamed for being a dhimmi. Do you really think this would have happened when Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, was in charge? I sincerely doubt it. But in any case, we can't let them get away with this. Not without a fight. So let's stand up for Tommy Robinson. Let's stand up for freedom of speech. And let's stand up against Islam. Make no mistake about this. Whatever the charges were against Tommy Robinson, he is a political prisoner, imprisoned for being opposed to Islam. So I will say, free Tommy Robinson. And we've got 38 people watching. Thank you all for being here. That's great. I really appreciate your participation, because without you, I would not be able to do this. So thank you. And I would like to say a few words about the situation in Sweden and Norway too. Last week in Sweden, Sjunnesson, who is an author and a citizens reporter, was questioned by the Swedish police. He was facing potential charges for hate speech. Let's get this story from the beginning. Last year, some very politically correct books were presented at the Swedish book fair in Gothenburg. One of them depicted a woman in the full Islamic cover. It was called Grandma is No Ghost. The other book was called Grandpa's Four Wives. Apparently, these books were intended to be inclusive to Muslims in Sweden, or something like that. Well, some other book covers were produced by people who wanted to respond to this stupidity. One of the covers depicts a man being whipped, and the cover has the title, With Grandpa at the Job. And the other cover shows a little boy standing outside a ring of children, titled, Mustafa Wants to Play. Sjunnesson shared a picture of these covers on Facebook, and then he was reported to the police for hate speech. Sjunnesson was reported by an organization called Näthatsgranskaren, meaning the Internet Hate Reviewer. This organization is funded by taxpayer money, by the way, and they are a part of the politically correct leftist network in Sweden. Sjunnesson recorded the police questioning, and to me it sounded like the police officers were not comfortable at all with having to question him about this. Sjunnesson declared this to be satire, by the way. They tried to make this into ethnic or racial hatred by pointing out the name Mustafa being a Muslim name. To that, I would say that even if they are right that Mustafa is exclusively Muslim, let's say they are right about that. Well, when did Islam become a race? And even if it was, what happened to freedom of speech? I may not like what you say, but as long as you are not inciting to violence, it should be allowed, even if I strongly disagree. In the case of Sjunnesson, I see nothing racist about this. It is satire about the consequences of Islam and of totalitarianism. Period. Anyway, Sjunnesson was acquitted by the attorney. It's nice with some good news from Sweden for a change, but really, what happens here is that Näthatsgranskaren reports lots of people. Some of them are sentenced, some of them are not. Clearly, Jan Sjunnesson didn't break any law, not even a Swedish law. Reporting people for crimes they didn't commit. Should that be allowed? We could think about that. But anyway, good that he was acquitted, so congratulations to Jan Sjunnesson for that. Grattis, as we say in Swedish. And now, just a few words about Oslo, Norway. Earlier today, I went to downtown Oslo to report and participate in an event by Stop Islamization of Norway outside the Norwegian parliament. Stop Islamization of Norway were there to raise awareness about Islam and how Islam threatens Norway and the world. Several different speakers, including one speaking in English, from different backgrounds, Norwegians and also a few Iranians. On a whole, a good event, although there were of course some Muslims and some leftists there who tried to disturb the event. And to that I will say, when opponents of liberty act like fools, they show the public that they are fools. I met some old friends and some new ones, and there will be a few videos coming up in a few days. Most of the speeches were Norwegian, so I will probably upload all my material in both Norwegian and English in one video, and then make a shorter one with English language material only. I expect to upload this material early next week, and I also intend to interview one of the participants in a not too distant future, an exiled Iranian who is an ex-Muslim, and ask him about his views. So I'm looking forward to this, and I hope you are too. Those were the things I wanted to address today. I also want to mention that there is something else coming up soon. I have been invited to an informal get-together with Republicans abroad in Oslo, so we will see if I will be able to interview some of the people there too, or to make some connections for future reference or future use. So there are 38 people in here. That's great. Thank you all for being here. Remember that without you, I wouldn't be able to do this, so I really appreciate your presence. And I'll say this once more. Feel free to support my work through Super Chat, Patreon, PayPal, or by buying some of my merchandise. To send a Super Chat, just click the little dollar sign under your name, and there are links under this live stream for other ways to support my work. I will read out all Super Chats, as long as you stay away from racism, anti-Semitism, incitement, and cursing. Please. Thank you very much. And now I'll have a look at the chat for a while. Let's see. This one is kind of interesting. Staroli Mistriel says, at least here in the USA, we are not at the politically correct levels of free speech as those oppressed elsewhere on the planet. I would not last a minute in the UK or the EU. Well, what I used to say about that is that in the United States, you have some private corporations who are trying to silence you, like for instance Facebook and Twitter and similar. However, in Western Europe and in Canada, it's the government doing it to us. So there's a difference there. I mean, I don't like what Facebook is doing either, but Facebook is a private corporation like YouTube, while in countries like the UK, Sweden, Finland, it's the government's doing it to us. Johnny Delta says Islam is not a race. Exactly. That's one of my points. William Marshall says, very nice cup you're sporting there, Swede. Well, thank you. Yeah, I found it in a tourist shop. Art Schneider says, hello, Sweden all. Everybody be sure to smash the like button on this. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I think I mentioned it, but it's always good to point it out again. Because I think it helps a lot. Let's see. Assyrian King says, Loon Toon News. You mean the 6th May one? I think that one was over 50,000. Let's see. The 6th of May, was that the day for freedom? Or was it earlier? Time flies, you know. Paula P says, Kelly is trying desperately to follow EU in many, many ways. Yeah, I think California is a very special place. But you know, with this talk about a Californian secession from the Union, I don't think it's going to happen. But if it would happen, well, in one way, might not be that bad because that would more or less secure the presidency for the Republicans for a very long time. Starali Mistriel says the Republicans in California are fighting back to regain the state this election. Well, I hope they'll be able to do that. That would be great. John Denmark says 700 to 1,000. Are we talking about the people who are gathered outside of Downing Street, or let's see. John Denmark says tomorrow in Speaker's Corner, Tommy Boys will come. Yeah, you know, if I had the funds for it, I would have gone. I would have taken the next flight to London, but I don't think I can do that right now. But it would be wonderful if I could. D. Duffy says, hey, well, hello to you too. Lady Anya too says, I still live in California. It's a flipping nightmare. More illegals every day, not allowed to carry guns. Recipe for disaster. Are they able to ban carrying of guns? I mean, I guess they distinguish between owning guns and carrying them or something. Because how could that stand in? If you would take California to the Supreme Court for breaking the Second Amendment, would it stand? Assyrian King says, today someone did a stupid thing and hijacked the demo, but we were about 2,000 to 3,000. Were you at Downing Street, Assyrian King? Johnny Delta says, a Swede speaks. We had a Dutch politician put the question of Tommy to the Dutch government today. Which politician was that? I mean, was it Geert Wilders or was it, well, one of the other ones? Craig Gordon says, no such thing as hate speech. There's only speech. Does the UK lock up Muslims for criticizing Christianity? I don't think they do. And that's interesting. Well, there's incitement, but that's different. So, well, if you stand at the street corner and shout, kill, loot, rape, burn, I don't think that should be allowed. But anything that's not incitement should be allowed, even if I happen to disagree with it. Oh, it was Geert Wilders. Yeah, as far as I know, he's a good guy. Lady Anya too says California keeps enacting gun bans and preventing people from carrying guns. Liberal judges keep ruling against the Second Amendment. Well, could you take California to the Supreme Court? I mean, I guess that should be possible. Johan Gavels says hi and Wildflower says hello, Swede. Well, hi to the both of you too. Wildflower says lagging, I see. Oh, am I? I'm sorry. Oh, let's see. Ah, I will check out Gert Wilders. Actually, I can take a look at it right now. Okay, it is a little slow. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I might have to come back to. I might have to come back to Gert Wilders in a later video or well a later comment. Wildflower says, "Love the mug, Swede." Well, people tend to like that mug, or well, I don't think it's very popular among the regular Norwegians or Swedes, but people who show up here tend to like it. Craig Gordon says, "Are we not free to dislike or hate what we choose? When did it become a crime to offend someone?" Yeah, that's a good question. Uh, there's this British comedian, I can't remember his name right now, but there's a video with him on YouTube when he talks about being offended, and that one is pretty funny. I'll try to get to remember that one. But anyway, I think you should be allowed to dislike or hate whatever you want to, and it might be stupid, but you should be allowed to be stupid, depending on what it is, of course. Let's see. Tittle Tattle 100 says, "From the footage I've seen at Downing Street, uh, there's definitely a sense of revolution in the air. We need one, and this movement is only going to grow." Yeah, that's what I've been saying about the UK for a while now. It seems to me like the UK is at a tipping point. I could be wrong here, but what I think there's a difference between British people and Swedes here. Swedes are very conformist. Swedes will put up with a lot, and they will do as the government or as the authorities tell them. They might not like it, but they'll do it anyway, because that's what you do. You don't make a mess, you don't rock the boat. Sweden is a very conformist society, and 80% of the Swedes agree with each other all the time, or at least they pretend to. And the other ones keep quiet, except for maybe 1 or 2%. It's very hard to get critical mass in Sweden, but I could be wrong. But it looks to me, when we look at Britain, you had the Day for Freedom, you have the Football Lads Alliance, you have all of these things going on in Britain, even though Britain might have walked further on the path, on a very destructive path than Sweden did when it comes to these thought crime laws and stuff like that. However, it seems like the British are actually willing to put up a fight, and I'm not seeing that from Swedes. So in one way, I think there's a bigger chance that Britain will turn around. Hopefully, it won't be too violent, but you got to do what you got to do. I don't know how to put it in any nicer way. It's like a man's got to do what a man's got to do, and I'd like to quote Ronald Reagan. Well, it's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees, or what did he say? Something like that. Better to die standing than to live on your knees. That's what it is. Wildflower says, "Free Tommy in 1984." Yeah, exactly. Free Tommy. Johan Galo says, "What about AFS in Sweden? Alternative for Sweden." Well, let me put it this way. I might agree with them on some things, but, well, but I don't trust them. Plus, they're founded by an old by a pro-Palestine guy, and that's kind of a litmus test to me. Mm. Johnny Delta says alpha men have stopped being quite gentlemen. I don't know about that. I like to think of myself as a gentleman, and I would have to argue the case that I'm one of the stubborn 10%. I mean, I could be wrong, but if I would be thinking of my career or something like that, I wouldn't be doing this. So I'm actually willing to do this, even though it's an uphill battle and it costs me a lot. But a man's gonna do what a man's gonna do. William Marshall says, "I'm waiting for the mass arrests to start. It's a real fear." Uh, you're talking about Britain, I suppose. Yeah, I could imagine that. There's a few "Make Britain Great Again" comments. I agree with that. Absolutely. Let's put the great back in Great Britain, as Margaret Thatcher said. At least she says it in the movie. It's pretty hot here too, by the way. I think it's something like 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, it's like 25, 28 Celsius. Uh, well, since you're all here, I could ask you a few questions and see if I'll get any responses to that. So, well, where I mean, I know some of you already, of course, but anyway, here goes. Where do you come from, or where do you live, and what are the most hot button issues in your country or in your area? Johnny Delta says mass arrests might be what it takes. I have been following Iran. They are striking. That's interesting that you mentioned that because I talked to I talked to an exiled Iranian who is an ex-Muslim and who lives in Norway earlier today. The man I intend to interview in a not too distant future, I hope. We'll try to set something up. And he talked about what's going on in Iran. And he actually, it was pretty interesting because he said that he thinks that the regime in Iran is going to fall within 1 year. I hope he's right. I mean, I don't know, but that's what he said. He said that people were just getting fed up, and well, he's an ex-Muslim, and I guess he's following Iran from abroad because he told me he can't go there because, well, if he goes there, he'll be in trouble. Well, let's see. We have the UK, we have Kentucky, we have Norrland. Yeah, Norrland. That's the northern part of Sweden, if anyone wonders. Oh, we got Canada too. That's great, and a lot of the United States and Finland. That's great. So let's say I think oh, Germany too. That's good. Um, Johnny Delta says I'm originally from the UK. I'm now a Dutch national. Kind of like me then. I'm originally from Sweden, but I'm a Norwegian national or a Norwegian citizen. See, Sheldon Hofstadter says Prague in Czechia. Oh, that's interesting. So we got sort of a large part of the West gathered around in the chat then. Let's see. Hot topic here is to get Mitch McConnell out, Paula P says. Mitch McConnell, is that your governor or something? Where did you say you were from again? Somewhere in the US, I think. Um, there seems I have noticed that I'm having some growth in numbers for my live streams recently. I guess today putting in free Tommy Robinson in the description was probably a smart move. I mean, I thought I'd do that because that would probably get people in here. Uh, Paula P says Kentucky. He's a neocon. Oh, I see. A rhino. Yeah, Republican in name only. Yeah, I see. Johan Gabel says I'm a Swede thinking of moving to the U.S., a red state. Uh, where do you guys think? Well, I would propose one of the somewhere in the Midwest. I'm I like the governor of Wisconsin. I could tell you that much. I like what he's doing or what I've been able to see. I mean, I haven't looked that closely into it, but things seem to be good there. PDP says greetings from New Zealand. Well, greetings to you too. I guess I should say good morning then, because it should be Sunday morning in New Zealand now. Paula P says I would love to see Cali turn around. Yeah, I would love to see California, Canada, Sweden, the UK, and a lot of other places turn around. Lady Anya 2 says, any red state with constitutional carry and wide open land. Yeah, that's a good idea. Absolutely. Kylie Heyman says, my state, South Carolina, is most definitely a red state. Well, I'd like to go there someday. Actually, I want to go I want to visit every U.S. state and every European capital. We'll see if I'll be able to do that. But absolutely, PDP says free brother Tommy. Absolutely. Loontoon News says not Minnesota or Illinois. Demo rat strongholds. Yeah, yeah. The blue states in the U.S. tend to have a lot of problems. PDP says New Zealand stands with Tommy Robinson. That's good. We need to stand with him. Absolutely. Lady Anya too says Minnesota is turning into little Muslim Somalia. That's what I heard. And I don't know, but I know that a lot of Scandinavians moved to Minnesota in the 1800s. And you could wonder if these Scandinavians had some kind of liberal thing in their genes. On the other hand, I've also heard that Swedish Americans tend to vote conservatively, so I'm confused about that one. Farnesius says there's a lot of Swedish and Finnish Americans in Minnesota, isn't there? Well, at least Swedish ones. Could be Finnish too, but I think the Finns settled Michigan, and I know there were some Finns who went to North Dakota too. D. Duffy says South Carolina passed new law that prevents saying anything about Israel. This too is against free speech. Well, absolutely. I think you should be allowed to say basically whatever you want as long as you're not inciting to violence, even if I happen to disagree. Lady Anya too says Dearborn, Michigan is little Iraq. Well, at least I heard that there's a large Muslim population there. PDP says blackout in the media, read Tommy Robinson, but that won't stop the call to freedom and justice. Well, I think the mainstream media are pretty quiet about it. And of course, in Britain, they can't talk about it at all, I think. I don't understand how they can do that either. I mean, isn't freedom of speech supposed to be like a fundamental right in Britain? So I don't understand how they can do that, but apparently they are. Stephen Cray says, I'm going to see if I can go and visit Tommy in prison if it's permissible. Hull prison is only 40 miles away. Oh, that would be a very good thing to do. And, well, please send him our greetings. Tell him we stand by him. Loontoon News says Swedes and Germans in Minnesota came as farmers. Yeah, and farmers tend to be more conservative than city people. I mean, in general. So yeah. So I've heard that Swedish Americans tend to vote conservatively. So I'm kind of confused on that one. On the other hand, although many Swedish went to Minnesota, they also went to other places like California and Texas. Johan Gabel says, "How come no acid attacks in Sweden? Lots in the UK, etc." Uh, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, but I know that it's a big thing in Britain. PDP says, "We in New Zealand are a colony of the UK, and I'm not going to stand silent. Free brother Tommy." Yeah, we really have to stand by Tommy Robinson. Absolutely. Johnny Delta says, "Acid attacks is a Bangladesh thing." Oh, that's where they started that thing. Okay. So, how did you learn about my channel or about this live stream? Lady Anya too says, "Tommy was arrested on breaking the peace. Then charge was changed so they could lock him up. Did it in hours so no one could protest before he was locked away." Yeah, that's the thing about it. As I said, I don't really care what they charged him for because I don't think it's valid. To me, it's pretty obvious. He's a political prisoner. They just make up some charge to put him away. Paula P says, "ABL is where I came across you and your channel." Yeah, that's yeah. I owe ABL a lot of my followers, so I'm happy about that. Lori P says, "Hello all in the chat." Well, hello to you too. And Johnny Delta says, "I learned about your channels from your pictures in Playboy." Well, I have no knowledge of those pictures. I'll tell you that. I'm getting the joke too, by the way. Paula P says, "A lot of the US ones." Yeah, and interestingly enough, the US is my largest audience. I think the UK is the second one, and Sweden is the third one, or something like that. Starali Mistrali says, "Tommy supporters need to organize locally and globally and be loud." Yeah, yeah. I think we need to put pressure on our governments that they need to act against Britain, sort of. Tulik2 says, "Found your channel, was in recommended videos at the end of a Peter Sweden video. Watched one video and you announced a live stream at the end. Now I'm here." Oh, that's great. Thank you. Johnny Delta says, "You have a few in the Netherlands now. I share your stuff." That's great. Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah, it seems like maybe my videos are recommended after some of Peter Sweden's videos. I guess we're kind of doing the same thing. Lori P says, "Hi Swede. Question: Did you already discuss the new Swedish party that's organizing a protest against Islam? It was in the news here a bit. What can you tell us about it? Oh, I haven't discussed that yet. I guess I should though. But well, it was alternative for Sweden. As I said, I'll agree with them on some things. I just don't trust them because they're led by a pro-Palestine guy. So that's kind of a litmus test. But anyway, about this protest, what happened was, well, there's a small town in Sweden called Växjö, and the mosque, or I guess it was the Islamic Association or something like that, but they had a mosque anyway, and they were given they were given a permit to have prayer calls on Fridays. And Alternative for Sweden organized a demonstration against this when they had their first prayer call, I think. And then Alternative for Sweden were, well, they were reported to the police by the police. So they're doing that crazy stuff in Sweden too, because as I said, I may not necessarily like what people do or say. They should still be allowed to say it. And by the way, I do support any demonstration against Islam. I mean, if it's Islam you criticize, I kind of have to go with it. Johan Gavel says, "What YouTubers do you like, Swede?" Well, I like, yeah. I tend to watch. Well, I like ABL obviously, and Make Britain Great Again. I started to follow this British channel Unea. There are a few other ones too. I should go. I guess I should go through all my. Well, PragerU is always good. The thing is, since I started doing this, I have less time to actually watch videos myself. Although sometimes I will watch videos just to get informed. I kind of like Tim Pool, even though he's a little lefty, but he gives us news about stuff that mainstream media won't tell us about. Plus, I think he's kind of culturally, well, he might be lefty in one way, but in another way, he's kind of moving towards us. Christopher Robbins says, Shabbat Shalom, you all. Hope you're having a blessed and restful Sabbath day. Well, Shabbat Shalom to you. I hope you're having a wonderful Sabbath day, and I will take Sunday off, because that's what I do. Loon Tunus says ABL claps. Yeah, absolutely. Wildflower says later, sweet God bless. Well, God bless you too, and well, see you later. So, Christopher Robbins says, yeah, God bless your sweet speaks. God bless you too. And well, I'll show you something. I got this one today. I hope you can read it. It says Norway is threatened by the religion of peace. I got it at the event outside Parliament with Stop Islamization of Norway, and there will be a video coming up from the event in a few days. I won't do that tonight, and I won't do that tomorrow because tomorrow it's Sunday, and I pretty much take Sundays off. I tend to say, well, Sunday I don't work unless they bomb Paris, which I hope they won't, but sometimes I think that could actually happen, so I shouldn't say that. But anyway, so I've got some material. I've got some material to put up next week. Johan Gavel says bye for now, Swede. Well, bye for now to you too. PDP says a person's life hangs in the balance, being jailed amongst what might be monsters. Pray for our brother Tommy in the name of Jesus. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, because I mean, they don't have the death penalty in the UK, as far as I know. But putting Tommy Robinson in there is as close to a death sentence you'll get in the UK, because I think the British government or the British system, whatever we're going to call them, I think they basically wants Tommy Robinson dead. And so so we really have to stand by him here. Stephen Cray says it's the inmate suite. Yeah, exactly. Well, they'll put him. I mean, as far as I know, there's a large Muslim prison population in the UK, and they all hate Tommy Robinson. Isn't that kind of the point? So yeah, I think that's the really big thing that's going on. This situation with Tommy Robinson, and I mean, in one way, I wasn't really surprised that they went after him again because I'm all sort of always counting on that's going to happen. I don't even know if I'm able to go to Britain anymore. At the same time as I'm saying, if I had the funds for it, I would take the next flight to London for well for tomorrow's event. But well, I don't have the funds for that, so that's not going to happen. They let me in last time, didn't ask me any questions, so I guess I wasn't on the no fly list then. But yeah, Starali Mistral says the British system has really changed for the worse. Yes, it has, and it only took a few decades. Loon Toon News says if Tommy isn't put in solitary confinement, he will be killed. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Starali Mistral says once upon a time I would feel safe there, but not anymore. Same with Europe except Poland. Well, basically yes, but I think there are a few countries in what used to be called Eastern Europe, countries like Poland, Hungary, I'm guessing Czechia too, and I mean Estonia too. Some of these countries are still safe. Christopher Robbins says the liberals are trying to shut up counter jihadists like you and me, Swede. Well, yeah, absolutely. La Resistance says extra Levant of Rebel Media is going to support Tommy's legal fund. Alex Jones is now sending him money. Yeah, I think it's a great thing to support Tommy Robinson's legal fund. So absolutely, you should do that. Paula Peace, let's see. Oh, here's something. I have a question. I have heard the royal family is on their last legs, so to speak. Will they be will they be nothing after the queen dies? I don't know. I mean, the monarchies that are left in Europe are pretty stable. Uh, I don't see Britain moving towards a republic suddenly, but I don't know. Same time, I don't know about Charles. Paula Peace also says, I would love to visit Poland someday. Yeah, absolutely go to Poland. Uh, I was in Poland a few months ago, and that was very interesting. And well, it was a nice place. Unconditional Sanity says, I am new to your channel. What are your thoughts on generation identity? I'm a little conflicted on them too. I'd say this as long as they go with fighting Islamization, I'm fine. If they'll bring in ideas about ethnicity or skin color, I'm not very fine. I'm not fine anymore. So I don't know, but I'll say what they did in Austria when they put up this banner that said Islamization kills. That was great. Uh, Sheldon Hofstadter says it's rather safe in Czechia. I'm not afraid to go any place in Prague, even without my S&W. Oh, you're Smith and Wesson. Oh, yeah. I'd like to visit visit Prague and Czechia too. I'll see when that happens though. Darali Mistriel says it can be said that countries that don't tolerate or support Islamic Sharia laws are the safest to visit. Well, yeah, that's pretty much that's kind of a logical conclusion. I mean, it's not really big news, or it shouldn't be. La Resistance says Breitbart has posted its redacted story on Tommy despite the blackout. Um, are you referring to Breitbart London? Because I mean, Breitbart is basically an American media outlet, although I know they have their London department too. Akt Peterha says in Czechia you can have a concealed carry permit for self-defense. Did that go through? Wasn't that law stopped or something like that? Although I mean, I think that's a wonderful thing. And actually, you know, in Britain, first they disarmed the people, and after doing that, they took away freedom of speech. I mean, I see a very strong connection here. And that's what I always tell Americans. You have to stand by your Second Amendment because your Second Amendment, the right to own and carry arms, is the one that protects the First Amendment, free speech. Akt Peterha says, no, have a look on Wikipedia and check gun laws. Oh, okay. And Sheldon Hofstadter says, I do have a concealed carry permit. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Yeah, I feel a lot safer in places where I know that people are armed than if people are not armed. Because in that case, I know the only ones armed will be the crazy ones, the criminals. I prefer if ordinary people are armed because that will make criminals want to go elsewhere. And also, having an armed population will keep the government. It will make the government less tyrannical. Paula P says, I'm worried for Tommy. Well, so am I. So yeah, absolutely. We have to stand by him and we have to pray for him. And we have to, well, spread the word about what's going on. Mm. Christopher Robbins says, is it true that Stockholm refused to stop Islamic child marriage? Swede? Actually, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Uh, I haven't heard that story, but it's possible. I saw right before I went on this live stream, I saw that the Norwegian Parliament adopted a law saying that that it is now illegal in Norway to marry someone under the age of 18. Period. Before they had some kind of exceptions to that rule. I don't know how they're going to deal with people who married someone under the age of 18 abroad though. So I don't know if they have thought about that. Starali Mistriel says an armed society is a polite society. Yeah, exactly. Timothy Goddard says from English heritage. Yeah, you mean you're part English or something? I think it's disgraceful what the UK government is doing, Timothy Goddard says. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's horrible. So in one way, I'd like to go to England to support the free speech movement. In another way, I don't want to to buy anything in England because that means some of that money will end up as tax money. I mean, sales tax or VAT or whatever you call it. So in one way, I don't want to fund the British government, but yeah, I don't know. So So since you're from different parts of the world, do you think there is still hope for your specific country? Yeah. Timothy Goddard says New Hampshire had the last royal governor. Oh, that's interesting. And Larry Sistan says, I wonder if the Tom revolution will affect the stock market. I say yes eventually. I guess it will. That's an interesting take on it. Starling Mistriel says, just think if you go to England to protest, you could end up arrested. Yeah, you're right about that. That could happen. And I don't want to end up in any statistics on arrests for many different reasons, including since I applied for a journalism visa to the US. I don't want to end up in any of those statistics. Well, Loontoon, all this talk about Khazar Jews, first of all, it's a conspiracy theory that doesn't hold up to to any evidence. And second of all, if you want to talk about that, you should do it elsewhere. Christopher Robbins says, is it true that a Swedish man faces 2 years in prison for saying Somali Muslims have low IQ, Swede? I don't know. It's possible. But I haven't heard that story, but it's possible. Timothy Goddard says Governor Wentworth had to flee to Newfoundland. Was that the last royal governor? Kind of makes sense. Because I know the loyalists went to Canada. Timothy Goddard says King George III is relevant now. Yes, he kind of is. And you could almost argue that Britain needs their own 1776. Starali Mistriel says keep your record clean so you're not a target. Yeah, exactly. Samuel McLean says if things continue in their current state, I have little hope. For Canada, we'll see what happens. Well, Loontoon, I have no idea if you like or dislike Jewish people, but I know that when people talk about Khazar Jews, that's kind of well, a lot of the Jew bashers like to talk about Khazar Jews and also how to connect this to Bolsheviks and stuff like that. So to me, that's kind of a giveaway. Christopher Robbins says the Islamization of Sweden and the rest of Europe is reaching epidemic levels. What do you propose we do about this, Swede? Well, first of all Islamic immigration must be stopped. And I mean, as I said, I'm pro free speech. However, I'm not pro incitement. So anyone inciting to violence, well, including uh, including imams in mosques, if they incite violence towards non-Muslims or other kinds of Muslims, uh, they those mosques should be closed down. And of course, we should end all funding of mosques. I mean, really, what we need assimilationist policies. Loontun, do whatever you want, but if you want to talk about Khazar Jews being connected with with Bolshevism and Lenin, do it somewhere else. Yeah, well, yes, I'm in favor of free speech. However, the chat is kind of my living room, and if someone in my living room starts going on about Jewish Bolshevism or something like that, I will tell them to leave. Christopher Robbins says, I'm in Michigan, USA, very close to Dearborn, Muslim capital of the USA. Uh, there are so many Muslims here, and we have a Muslim running for governor. Yeah, how did that happen to Michigan? Was there a specific reason for that? So I guess Christopher Robbins says it was Obama letting in all uh, the Muslim migrant Swedes. Uh, did it go? Was it that fast? Interesting. Timothy Goddard says, I'm not advocating violence, but, well, I don't advocate starting a fight, but I advocate self defense, of course. That's different. And if your country is attacked, well, I mean, you have to defend your country if it's attacked. That's different. I guess the problem in Western Europe is that you might end up with civil wars, and civil wars are always the worst ones. D. Duffy says, I have a coffee cup like yours. Found in a little shop last week. Cool. Yeah, yeah, I found I found this one in a little shop too. Timothy Goddard says, you have to defend your rights. Yeah, absolutely. I don't say that we should submit to anything like that. Tulip 2 says, don't start violence, just win when it comes to it. Yeah, you could put it that way. Yeah, I'm kind of tired always having to explain what this is not about. This is not a white identity channel. This is not about Jewish conspiracy theories. And when people start talking about Khazar Jews and Bolshevism, I'm sorry, that's not what this is about. So if that just lost me a patron, okay, I'll have to live with it. Hmm. Yeah. Alicia Bell says, hi everyone. Yeah, hello to you too. What are we talking about? Alicia Bell says, well, I guess I was just sighing over someone claiming to be pro-Israel, but who started to talk about Khazar Jews and Bolsheviks and Gulag and making some kind of crazy connection there. And for me calling out that I'm not about these conspiracy theories, and if you want to talk about that, please do it elsewhere. Well, this person told me he'll 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 stop his Patreon of me. I have no idea who this person is, but well, so I'm kind of tired always having to explain what I'm not about. I think my introduction should make that pretty clear by now. The Yassi says, my few cents, Jews like all people, some are good and some are bad. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sure. That's true about all peoples. And this is possible. It's possible that I was wrong about this guy, but I happen to know that that the Khazar Jew theory is basically a conspiracy theory because they tried to prove that that Eastern European Jews were not descended from the Israelites, and that, by the way, has been disproven by DNA tests because it clearly shows that Jewish populations around the world, including those descended from Eastern Europe, have a Levantine ancestry. So, so yeah, I guess that's what it's. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Unconditional sanity says generation identity promotes traditional European values. Well, I would say if it's just about values, I don't have a problem with it. My problem is if you mix ethnicity into it. And if you don't, I don't have a problem. Uh, Sapotec 1974 says, hey Swede, news report about shooting in Stockholm tonight into a restaurant with many guests. Only one injured, it looks like. Okay, I haven't heard about that. I'll check it out. Uh, well, in a little while when I'm off this live stream. Okay, the Yassi, I don't know where you go or I what you mean not being a Russian revolution. I mean, I don't know if I want to hear your answer because I'm pretty much I'm pretty much fed up if if it's going the way I think. D. Duffy says, let's deal with the present, guys, please. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so, well, yes, he once says Swedish means that the history is complicated, that's all. Well, okay, absolutely. History is always complicated. Timothy Goddard says, the UK needs a 1776 moment. All I'm saying, well, yeah, I think they do. Absolutely. And it might happen because, I mean, as I said, the difference between British people and Swedes, I think, I could be wrong, but to me it looks like the British are actually willing to put up a fight, while Swedes in general are not. And as I understand it, the people who were gathered outside Downing Street today, apparently it was a last minute call, and the numbers of people who showed up, well, they differ. But I guess I saw some number of 1,000 and some who said there were more. I don't know. But what they said was there were a lot of people who just showed up at the last minute call there. Alicia Bell says, did we talk about how Sweden has some of the highest gun crime stats in Europe? No, no, we haven't talked about that. And I guess I should look into those numbers. I do know that I do know that Sweden has some other interesting statistics, like the level of hand grenade crime. PDP says, it is said where two or more are gathered in Jesus' name, he comes in the midst of them. Therefore I raised my voice with all those in agreement. We thank you, Father, and seek your will. Well, amen to that. Absolutely. And, well, thank you for tuning in on a Sunday morning, as it is in New Zealand. Alicia Bell says, it was reported on the local. Oh, I see. Well, the local, they they've done something with the local, so now they there's more on the local behind the paywall. Earlier, I think all of their material was free, but now most of it seems to be behind a paywall. So I guess they're trying to make money. Well, couldn't blame them for that, but if the local wants to make money, they need to stop their political correctness. And I have a hard time motivating myself giving anyone in the mainstream media a cent. I'll just Google for the news somewhere else instead to go around that. I mean, I'm willing to support some media if they're good, but if it's the mainstream media, they're not getting a cent from me. PDP says we humbly ask for the courage of Theresa May to do your will and seek justice. Oh, that would be great. Really, amen to that. That would be wonderful. And I think her father was well, he was a priest of some kind. I mean, I don't know if he was a good priest. I have no idea. But she is a priest's daughter. That's interesting. Tulik 2 says there had always been hand grenade attacks in Sweden. People just never reported it in the past. Now they report, and that's a good thing. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, I see. I see the joke. Act per Terha says there's an interesting poll on the Spectator Index on Twitter. Percentage willing to fight for your country: Sweden 55%, Finland 74%, Russia 59%. Not sure how reliable this poll is, though. Well, it's interesting. Well, Finland did fight the Soviets, while Sweden, well, Sweden was taught the wrong lesson from World War II, because Sweden was neutral, facing evil, both when it came to Nazi Germany and to the Soviet Union. Uh, and in the Cold War, Sweden refused to pick a side, at least officially. I mean, uh, unofficially, Sweden sided with NATO or with America, but not officially. And the thing is, Sweden learned the lesson that if you just don't rock the boat and if you just don't pick any sides, everything is going to go, will be fine. Well, it won't work very well this time. While Finland, they had to fight, otherwise you would have been a part of the Soviet Union. So now, I guess now you would be maybe like Estonia or something. PDP says, God bless the United Kingdom. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. D. Duffy says, if the UK has a 1776, they can do it like the United States did it and use US Constitution as a template to write theirs. That would be interesting. La Resistance says, does not look to me that Sweden has learned anything. Well, they learned the wrong lesson. They learned that if you just don't put up a fight, things will be fine, which of course they won't. But it did work in World War II, and it kind of worked during Cold War, but it won't work now. And also, Sweden were fine because its neighbors got to take the, how will you put it, take the hit. Okay, I'm done with people who want to talk about ethnicity, race, caste or Jews or anything like that. So my tolerance level just went down. Snowbell says, Loon 2 News, are you here? No, I think he left. Act Petera says, in Finland we have mandatory military conscription. Sweden has reintroduced, I think. Is it working again? Well, I heard that Sweden were going to reintroduce it. I don't know how it's working. I think the first year of conscripts are in or something like that. But I think they were going to conscript both men and women, so it's interesting. I don't know how that's going to work. La Resistance says Britain protected Sweden. Well, yeah, they kind of did. Alicia Bell says, who has Sweden ever protected? That's a good question. I can't think of anyone right now. Now, I guess it's the other way around. So no, I can't think of a single of anyone actually. Alicia Bell says, "What can we do to support Tommy Robinson?" Actually, apparently you're able to write to him. Uh, there's actually, I think there's a link for that. If you look at the links in the box below, uh, I think there's actually a link for how to send letters to or emails to Tommy Robinson. You can do that, and I guess we can tell our governments that they need to put pressure on the UK. PDP says the highest power is always the father. That's correct. Well, it's time for me to wrap this up. So, thank you for participating in this live stream, and I hope to see you all again soon. And hey, bring a friend, but don't bring the crazy ones, please. So, until next time, have a nice day, and God bless.